Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another show of the Disruptive Front. Today, we have a very special guest, Naveen Jain, an entrepreneur and somebody that I think is amazingly interesting. And I wanted everybody to hear more about him, his story, and a little bit of the thoughts of his where we are in the future. So, Naveen, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you, Scott. It's been an absolute pleasure to be on your show.
Well, I was excited when you agreed to come on, and you've dealt with so many different types of companies and put your hands in so many, I guess you could say, cookie jars in that sense. I was interested in you because one thing I was really interested in was the idea that a lot of people tell you don't take on too many things, don't burn yourself out. You're like, I mean, go, 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 go. It's amazing, and I wanted to hear your take on that. Let me hear a little bit about your background to entrepreneurship. I know you started, in the startups area and working for them all the way to now we're going to space, which we'll get a little bit more into in the later in the show.
Yeah. So first of all, Scott, I mean, the reason people burn out is because they are doing things they're not enjoying. They're not having fun. I've never met someone, if they enjoy, say, playing golf and say, I'm just totally burnt out, right? Or people who love fishing, that's I'm just burnt out, right? So point is, people never burn out when they are truly following their obsession, when they're following their life's calling. So to me, the best way to look at the entrepreneurship is the day you don't jump out of the bed when you wake up in the morning, whatever job you're doing, quit that. That is not your calling, and find something that you're truly obsessed about, where you go to sleep thinking about it, you wake up thinking about it, and that's what you should be doing. So in my mind, when people talk about I am really passionate about it, I think passion is for losers. Passion is for hobbies. I collect stamps, I collect meteorite, that's my passion. My obsession is getting rid of chronic diseases. My obsession is how do we get humanity to live a disease-free life? My obsession is why do people have to be sick? There is no reason for people to be sick. Can we fundamentally make illness truly a matter of choice? That is the kind of obsession. Now, there is never, it's not that I don't work long hours. I get up at 4 a.m., I go to bed by 10 p.m., I work 7 days a week, and I do get tired. There is no two ways about it. But I wake up in the morning and I say, I know exactly why I feel the way I feel, because this is what I want to do with my life. And I feel the day any one of us, when our life amounts to chasing a small white ball and putting it in a hole, we have outlived our usefulness. And when people start to think that life is about sitting on a beach and watching the waves crash, or hitting a white ball and putting in a hole and somehow feeling good about that, I think you become a parasite on humanity. And I think you should find a way to give, either give back to the society or get out of the society and maybe go to heaven.
And with that thought process, do you think, you have it both ways, you enjoy your life. And I think the mindset is a lot of people have great ideas, but they're not willing to do anything about them. And it's, you see it on social media, you see people complaining about something. And I always say, if you have a complaint, come with a solution so we can start to solve this, but I want to actually talk to you. And that's a great transition to your idea about solving issues. One of the areas that I've been so passionate about is the globe, right? Like the earth, and even further, right? Because we'll get into that later. But water, one of the things that we have to have. Can you just talk to me about the issues we have with water and just how that's only a symptom of what we're actually in a very minute area that we can actually solve bigger issues?
Yeah. So fundamentally, there are a couple of things as an entrepreneur. A lot of the times people don't go out and do something. So, I think there are three types of people in this world. People who always find a problem, and these are the complainers. Everybody has, why can't someone do something about it? Whether that is a pothole in a road, or why can't someone fix the election, or why can't someone do this? And the group of people who always have ideas. I think you can do that. I think we should do that. I think we should do that. And there is one type of a human being that actually goes and does something about it. And that special human being, we have a name for that. We call them an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are the problem solvers. They don't complain. They don't come up with a solution. They actually go out and do something about it. They implement a solution. And remember, as an entrepreneur, your idea may or may not work, but you never fail until you give up. because every idea that does not work is simply a stepping stone to a different idea.
Right.
So human beings fail, entrepreneurs pivot, and pivot is really adapting to the new reality as you're learning things, right? Now, to answer your second part of the thing is, anytime you're trying to solve a problem, there are a couple of fundamental things you have to know. One is that, are you actually solving the symptom of the problem, or are you solving the root cause of the problem, right? So I think you mentioned water. I mean, we all know that, lack of fresh water is one of the biggest problems facing humanity in many parts of the world. And then you start to think about, why can't I go do something about solving this problem? And you say, well, maybe I need to come up with a nano filters, and I need to come up with a mechanism to actually get clean, fresh water, to desalinize the water, to be able to make the water drinkable. Sure. And then you start to feel good that you're actually going to go out and do something. But you have to, again, ask yourself, is the lack of fresh water really is the problem, or the problem happens to be somewhere else? And the minute you dig into it, you'll find out that majority of the fresh water is actually used to feed the agriculture. And then you say, oh, if agriculture is really the problem, let's come up with the aeroponic agriculture, the hydroponic agriculture, some type of aeroponic agriculture, right? And you say that is how we can save lot of fresh water by actually doing the agriculture more effectively, or even use the lightly salted water. And then you feel that you actually now solving the problem, until you ask yourself a question: where does all this food go that we are growing? And it turns out majority of the agriculture is used to feed the cattle. Right. That means the beef you eat is really being used to, these cows are eating the grains that we are actually growing for them, not for us.
Not the beef I'm eating, Naveen. I'm not eating that beef, Naveen. But yes, and you talked actually about the idea of taking DNA from a cow and actually creating meats. We look at Beyond Meat. I'll tell you, in the last month, I've cooked about for three different families Beyond Meat burgers. Yeah. And they're like, meat eaters and blah, 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 blah. There's a way to cook it and not just pick it up somewhere. But I mean, they bit into this and they gave so much doubt, and it was just such a great feeling to see them enjoy something that they didn't think they would. Can we have all of that at once? Can we solve all those things at once? Have the filters, have the hydroponic.
Absolutely. Answer yes. So answer is, you can do all of it, and you can also enjoy and do the great things for humanity, right? And it's not about people think it is somehow about saving our planet. Our planet will do just fine. We need to worry about the human species as such, not the planet. Planet is going to be just fine with or without us, right? So I think as an entrepreneur, our job is to see what can we do to make life better for billions of other people who are our fellow humans.
Well, you talked about things that we're eating, for instance. We just talked about meat. I want to actually get into your amazing company, VIOME. And I'll tell you my background on this. I'm a pharmacist. I enjoy, actually as a consultant pharmacist, I enjoy seeing people take less medications. But I've realized over time, each individual needs different things. And it's, even when we looked at the 23andMe's and all these other companies, we see a personalization that's not happening. And there's a lack of buy-in, whatever it may be. But I was always interested in the gut because, hey, I know 80% of the serotonin in our bodies are built right in our gut. If our bacteria is not producing it, of course, let's talk about, the issues we have in mental health and eating disorders and sleeping, and we could go on and on. Talk to me about VIOME. What are you guys doing, and what's different, and how deep are you going?
So first of all, the chronic diseases. And when you look at the chronic diseases, obesity and diabetes and heart diseases, autoimmune diseases, you really look at depression, the anxiety and Alzheimer and Parkinson's and the cancer. None of these diseases should ever exist, because these are not the diseases you're born with, right? And this, I think that our fascination with the DNA, or companies like 23andMe, actually set us back a decade. Here is why. Now, imagine I did my DNA test, right? And now let's assume somebody built a diet or something based on my DNA. They tell you, isn't that unique to you? The answer is yes, it is unique to me, but it makes no difference. And here is why. I do my DNA test and you give me a diet. 6 months later, I gain 200 pounds and I'm obese. My DNA has not changed. Now I become depressed. My DNA hasn't changed. Now I get diabetes. My DNA hasn't changed. And you get the idea. I'm getting all the diseases. My DNA has not changed. And if I go back to you, say, hey, Mr. Pharmacist, I am really getting sick here. What should I do for my diet? Oh, your DNA is the same. Just keep doing what you're doing. Mr. Pharmacist, I'm going to die if I keep doing what I'm doing. Well, the fact is your genes don't change, but your gene expression is always changing.
Right. Activation
And
and so on.
yeah, and most importantly, as you mentioned, your gut microbiome is completely different. So two identical twins who have completely identical DNA, they can have completely different microbiome. And that's the reason one twin may get a heart disease, other twin can live forever, right? So point is,
right,
even identical twins will have different sets of diseases because of their gut microbiome. And what we are learning now is that 99% of all the genes that are expressed in our body are not our own. They come from the microbiome in our gut, in our mouth, and on our skin. And these guys more or less control everything that happens in our body. They are the puppet masters. As you mentioned, 90% of our serotonin is released created in our gut. 70% of our immune system is along our gut lining. And what that means is these microbes are talking to immune system. And when there is an inflammation, chronic inflammation causes chronic diseases.
right.
So what we're doing at VIOME is just really fascinating. We look at everything that's happening in your body, in your blood, in your gut. And by doing that, we can tell you, don't eat broccoli, and here is why. Because your gut is producing too much sulfide, and if you eat broccoli, you're going to cause inflammation.
Wines, same thing, things like that, right?
Don't eat spinach, even though
Apples.
Popeye said it's healthy. Popeye was not a scientist, right? So now we can tell you, don't eat spinach because you cannot digest oxalic acid, right? So point is really, really precise. And now what we have done, Scott, is that something we launched 2 days ago, which is precision supplements. And this is just completely groundbreaking. We look at everything that's happening in your body, your cellular health, your mitochondrial health, your immune system health, your gut health. And by looking at everything, we say, here are the nutrients your body needs. You need 22 milligram of elderberry. You need 7 milligram of curcumin. You need 11 milligram of berberine. And we actually make those capsules on demand for each individual right after they do the VIOME test. So you do this health intelligence test, a touch of a stool, 4 drops of blood. We can analyze every single genes that are expressed in your body. And then we tell you, here is what you need. And by the way, you can get that made to order just for you. And that has never been done.
I own a point of care testing company, and I commend you for being in this space because it's phenomenal. It's also very competitive. But you're right. A lot of people have come into the space and actually messed the mindset up or the consumer side up because a lack of trust, ethical reasons, whatever the case may be. However, what you guys are doing is phenomenal. You're comparing blood, you're comparing stool, you're comparing saliva. And I think that a lot of people didn't do that. They took a DNA test and they said, oh, you need folate because you're folate deficient based on a SNP. And then everybody's buying things they don't need, they don't work. And then at the end of the day, they stop believing in the idea of being healthy. And so I think it has to come down to the basis. And also people love to read about themselves. They love to read a book that's specific to them, not some general patient with the same disease state. Is the goal?
And tell you, Scott, yes, Scott, one of the things that is really fundamentally what tarnished our industry was people bought things based on belief or faith that it works, right? You join the temple of or church of the vitamin C and you just believe it's going to help me. What we are doing is completely different. We measure everything that's happening in your body. We give you the nourishment and nutrition you need, and then we retest you to show you all your health markers are actually improving.
Trends.
And we close the loop. So there is nothing. And then by the way, as your body is changing, we reformulate and re-nourish your body with the different things as your body adapts. And we constantly keep doing it. And that is the beauty. You can see the changes in the health for yourself. Not only you feel better, but most importantly, your underlying health gets better. So sometimes our healthcare system is basically a sick care system. You wait until you get sick. In our case, we can show you you're going to be sick if you don't do that. And you can see you're moving away from a disease rather than moving towards a disease.
I actually want to get into healthcare in a second here. One last question about this is you just had an FDA approval. Am I correct?
So we actually just filed the FDA approval for oral cancer because all the things we do in our business are all GRAS, which is generally regarded as safe. So they're pre-approved by FDA. FDA has approved them as diet or food. So food doesn't need to be now again FDA regulated. So everything that we use is already FDA approved.
Well, that's amazing. I want to talk to you actually about the entrepreneurship in healthcare. As you know,
Yeah.
I'm an assistant professor for a college of pharmacy, but what I do see is, and I'm an advisor for an entrepreneurs in healthcare, which amazing group of individuals. But what I do see is a lack of business mindsets. I see science, and that's amazing. That's a foundation, but I'm not a scientist. I'm a professional. I feel like I have an opportunity with my degree to engage with others with different degrees, and we could create something special. But I feel a lot of the times, people in general, not even just our school, every school, any profession, they're missing that entrepreneurship. How can we get that in school? How can we get that back into healthcare? And why is it the way it is today? And was it built that way to last this long?
Well, the problem you have is that healthcare industry in itself doesn't have incentive to fix the problem, right? In this medical industrial complex, everyone makes money when we are sick. You and I are sick, everyone makes money, but no one makes money when we are not sick. So it is fundamentally designed to keep you sick. If you and I are young and we get diabetes, there is probably a button somewhere, they say, ka-ching, lifetime subscriber coming up, right? Point is, they look at the chronic diseases as a lifetime subscriber. Nobody has incentive to fix it. What we did was, we say, you know what? There is one person in the system who does not like being sick, which is the person who is sick. So why not go direct to the patient or consumer who is sick and tell them what's happening inside their body, give them what they need, and they can see the improvement for themselves. So you don't have to rely on this middle layer that is actually want to keep you sick. It's a travel agent, it's a broker. That middleman we call the doctor doesn't really care about you. It cares about how much prescription they offered, how many times you come and see them, because they make money every time you see them. They don't make money when you're sitting healthy at home, right?
Well, can I ask you, and healthcare payment needs to change, but when we're looking at insurance models, a lot of insurances are now buying into the idea of, preventative, but that's on a, one-to-one basis or employees only. It's not really the broad spectrum. I think a big side of being sick as well, and I agree with you on the payment systems, they continuously have to change. I do think there's some great people out there, but I don't think that, the education system all the time is set up to also train to be consumer-based, right? Like we don't really have relationships with our consumers or our patients the way we see in other businesses. And I think that there's a lack of follow-up. There's a lack of, I'm here, it's a one-off, when you're sick, come see me. Yep. And I think that's a problem within itself. I know that you've probably got some flack about the direct to consumerism, that always gets you. But I think, what we need is a patient side app, not a professional side app, where they can store all their healthcare, where they can store all of their information that they can deliver to the specialist they want to. I think we talked about it. I met you at Exponential Medicine, but owning your own data, how important that is, right? I think we should be able to share it when we want to. Just going into this a little bit, and now that we're in this space, I wanted to talk to you about technology, because you're constantly creating new companies and you're seeing all the technologies. I mean, like I said, we're getting into space and here shortly, but I wanted to talk to you about technology and the workforce, because one of the things that you've talked about was the idea that there's jobs being created, but there's jobs being lost. And so could you give me some type of idea of what that looks like and how we as a human race will survive disruption?
Well, the point is, the technology is here to stay. It is not going away. And every technology that is smart enough to take your job away is also smart enough to actually complement you to do the job that you couldn't do. So for example, artificial intelligence may take if you are a truck driver, it may take your job away. Now you as a truck driver, let's assume you have a great people skills. Now, you could use a digital artificial intelligence who could be a great companion to teach you to be a healthcare nurse. That means you don't need to know the things, because your artificial intelligence will be able to triage for you, and you use your people skill to be able to actually become a nurse. So point I'm trying to make is that a lot of the time we look at this artificial intelligence as your enemy rather than as a companion that can allow you to do your job better. That means it's not about the people versus AI. It is people and AI working together to be a better solution than AI alone or people alone.
Well, and look, I love the idea, and I think a lot of people are comfortable. A lot of people this is new to them too, right? We have to understand a lot of people just have been doing the same thing for so many years and never thought of change even, and never even left the city they live in except for whatever job they're doing. My mindset though is this, like you said, is inevitable. So, one of the things I have a problem with, I guess, and I don't know how to form it, maybe you could help me, but when a job or an employer replaces a employee,
Hmm?
how do we make that work for everyone? Because, after a while, there's going to be people with no jobs that can't afford to pay for the things that these people are replacing them for to sell. And so, is it the idea that we have funding from somewhere, whether it be businesses, private entities, that retrain so that we could start to create production of the future?
Well, if you think about it, this is not a new problem. When the computers came out, people say, oh my God, they're going to take away all the jobs and what's going to happen. And you look at today, more than half the jobs that exist today didn't exist 20 years ago.
Right.
So in 20 years, we have completely reshifted the population of where the jobs are. And that is going to happen again and again. That means as the technology moves along, it takes away a certain set of jobs, but it creates a new set of jobs. Who would have thought there'll be a job for data analyst? I mean, there was no data to be data analyst, right? I mean, the point I'm trying to make is that as artificial intelligence becomes smarter and smarter, there are going to be jobs that are going to be created for the skills that people never thought they could do. So if I'm an artist and I have certain capabilities, now there was no job. And today in the digital world, those people are highly sought after. How do I make my user interface really sexy? So now designer and artist whose parents told you, you have no job, you could never make money. And now they are the one who are actually controlling everything that we see. So my point is, there are new jobs are always going to be created. It is about continues to learn, and education cannot be something we do until we turn 21 and then it is a job. Now it is a continuous learning to learn, learning to adapt, and learning to constantly be intellectually curious. And I think that is the fact that the day you stop being curious is the day you die. So the point is, you have to every day look at yourself and say, what am I learning? Am I not learning anything new? Then I'm dying, right? That means every day ask yourself, what did I learn? What am I learning? Am I in a job that's not teaching me anything? If the answer is yes, then go out and do something else. Because once you start learning, that's a thirst you will always be quenching, right? And that's what I tell all my children is that look at your life. My job is not to take you to the water and make you drink. My job is to make you thirsty. If I can make you thirsty, you will find your own water and you will drink. And the best way to make someone thirsty is to give them intellectual curiosity. And to me, that is the key to the human living, is intellectual curiosity.
I mean, you're super passionate and you're super obsessed with living a better life. And I think that's the key to all of this is, as you said, you have to be obsessed with it. Passion only gets you so far. I do have to get into the area, and I brought this just for you.
Oh my God.
But I have to get into the area of space, and everybody hears about Elon Musk and the idea. And I think even your early companies dealt with an Elon Musk with Yellow Pages, digitizing and so forth. So it's kind of a full circle, but outside the space, in space now. So talk to me about your space journey and what it is that you own first. You're the first company to do what?
So, I started a company called Moon Express, and Moon Express is the only company, not just the first company, the only company that has a permission to leave Earth orbit. That means, everyone else is still in the Earth orbit, inside the Earth orbit. So you're launching the satellite, you're going to the space station, it's all within the Earth orbit. There is no other private company that has ever left the Earth orbit. And that is the key. Can we actually go out and create a multi-planetary society to be able to live on the moon, to be able to live on the Mars, to be able to live beyond that? And people always wondered, when there are so many problems on planet Earth, Why are we trying to go to the moon or Mars? Don't you have enough problem to solve? And to me, that is what I call the mindset of scarcity, which is, if I do this, I can't do that. And my answer is, let's do that and let's do this, right? So my point is, can we solve the problem of humanity on Earth by solving the problem of healthcare? And can we also go to the moon so that we can save the humanity from potential extinction? Because if we all live on the same spacecraft and our spacecraft gets hit by a large asteroid, we as humanity will get completely wiped out, just like dinosaurs, right? Dinosaurs all got wiped out because they got hit by an asteroid. Now, do you want to be another dinosaur species that gets wiped out? Because if you hear any dinosaur rolling in their grave, what would they be saying? If they had one good entrepreneurial dinosaur, they would be roaming on the moon, Mars, and beyond. So let's not make the same mistake the dinosaurs did. Let's roam on the moon, Mars, and beyond, so we as human species can continue to survive beyond our spacecraft.
And make sure that, you know, you would tell that dinosaur to eat right and check its gut health as well. I want to ask you quickly, because I think the full circle, I talked about full circle, but your son has a entrepreneurship organization you're a board member of. Tell me some of the other individuals that are board members and the idea behind this, because I think giving back to our youth, that's the reason I got back into academia. I wanted to give back. I wanted to do more. I feel like you do it. Like, you share your ideas all the time. Why would you share your ideas if you have these amazing secrets? Because I think you realize you can't do it alone, and B, you got to inspire more people and let them see their potential. So talk to me a little bit about your son's organization, if you can.
Yeah. So first of all, you know, to me, doing good and doing well are not mutually exclusive. And today we have this world, either you are a philanthropist doing some nonprofit, or you are an entrepreneur doing for-profit. To me, if you want to do a small good in the world, you do a nonprofit. If you want to do a large good in the world, you do for profit, because profit is the engine that allows you to help more people. Do something that solves the problem for 1 billion people, you can create $100 billion company. But you can't create $100 billion company without helping 1 billion people. And that's the key. Find a big enough problem and get rid of it. Get rid of the chronic diseases. You will have $100 billion company, but you can't create $100 billion company by continuing to keep those people sick, right?
Well, you'll work the same amount of time, right? You'll take the same amount of time to do the same thing. So anyway, sorry. I think that is so true. And people don't get that concept. They think they're going to do more because it's a bigger concept. It's a bigger idea.
So in fact, it's easier to do a bigger idea than to a small idea, but let's leave that for the next talk somewhere.
Part two.
You know, so we have 3 children, and our oldest is 30 years old. He started Kairos. Kairos is the world's largest college entrepreneurship thing. He started when he was 17 years old, trying to bring all these college entrepreneurs together, give them the mentors like Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, and literally everyone would come to help these young entrepreneurs. And now he's doing 3 companies: affordable housing, affordable renting, and really trying to build even the things, how to make payment for the rent on a credit card, so landlord still gets the full money. I mean, some simple idea that makes the things affordable and easy for a middle class. Our daughter graduated from Stanford. She cared about women. Guess what she did? She is a Stanford Mayfield Fellow. She's a Stanford STEM Fellow. She's a UN ambassador. And she worked for the next 4 years trying to get rid of gender bias in hiring. And now she's starting a company around women's health. She cared about women, and she didn't talk about that. She said, okay, first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the gender bias in hiring. Now I'm going to start a company on women's health, trying to get the women to be healthier, right? And our youngest one also graduated from Stanford, and then he became a Schwarzman scholar. Steve Schwarzman has like a new version of Rhodes Scholarship, where they take the 130 kids from around the world, and he was selected as one of them. And they went to China to understand the Chinese ecosystem, to be able to come back to US and see how we can implement a lot of the things that you can actually, instead of competing, but cooperate together to create an ecosystem that helps the billions of people around the world. So my point is, why is it the children who grew up, they didn't have to work for a living, but they are so thirsty to want to solve the problem? And that is the key to life. Is my biggest legacy is not going to be what I did. My legacy is going to be actually having these children solving the same problem. So as they say, not only each one of us have to leave the better world for our children, we also have to leave the better children for the world so they can continue to solve the problem, right? So the thing that we teach them always was that, remember, as an entrepreneur, your life is going to be like a heartbeat. It goes up and down and up and down.
Right.
When you start to live a smooth life, you're dead. The smooth line in your heartbeat tells you are dead. So if you're living a life that has no ups and downs, you're living a life of a zombie, right? Ups and downs tells you you're alive. When you are down, all you have to do is hunker down and know the next beat is going to be up. And when you are on the top of that beat, never get too cocky, because winter is coming and winter will come. So to me,
one of your quotes is, when you become humble, you become successful, right? And that,
what I said.
Yeah. And you're successful. Like, people would say you're successful, whether they look at it at money, whether they look at it like, are you doing what you said you were going to do? And also your success in yourself looks at it as, what adversities can I overcome and how many can I crush? And I think that mentality is different from what everybody else is looking at. But I think you're very humble. You're so humble. When I first met you, you were so humble. I think it's amazing. What final words do you have for everyone out there, and just to take from what we got today?
Well, I think first of all, just dream big. Dream so big that people think you're crazy, and never be afraid to fail. Never go out and wonder that I know nothing about this industry. How can I disrupt the industry? The disruption happens because you are naive and you're willing to challenge the foundation of what experts have taken it for granted. So go out, follow your true obsession, follow your life's calling, follow your North Star, and just know the only limit you have to what you can achieve is your imagination. The sky is not the limit, because sky doesn't exist. The sky is a figment of our imagination. So don't create the skies for yourself, and imagine anything you can imagine, you can create. So keep dreaming, keep imagining, and there is nothing that you can't do.
Well, guys, what an amazing show. I say it all the time as well, just to coincide, is, the idea of doing something great and not just sticking around to do something good. We have to think great. I mean, this is very disruptive. This is what we wanted on the show. Naveen, I appreciate your time so much today. I do look forward to a part 2 in the coming year, and please stay safe. And to everybody out there, thank you so much. You can follow us on YouTube, LinkedIn, iTunes, Spotify. We try to get the information out there and as best as we can, but we look forward to more shows come. Thank you guys so much, and have a great day.